welcome to United Way of Muscatine's Volunteer Appreciation Week. Today we have Rebuilding Together with us. We have Frank and Debbie, right? Is that how you go by?
Debbie,
Deborah Iliff. So we're going to start off by, Frank, you telling us the story of why you started Rebuilding Together and the passion on that.
Started Rebuilding Together in 2007. I was working at Monsanto at that time. We delivered Meals on Wheels to people, and one of the ladies, the co-chair of the organization Community Relations Committee, said, "You'd like to build things. Is there one of these elderly people that we deliver meals to could use something besides just a meal on Monday?" And I said, "Mr. Clark needs a new porch." She said, "Find out how much it's going to cost and see if we can put it together and maybe put a new porch in." So I found out it was going to cost about $850. Put a team together, went in and tore the deck apart on his porch, put a new one in. They all said, "Wow, that was a lot of fun, let's do it again." So the following year, I went to Senior Resources, said, "Who of all of your clients needs help?" They said, "Oh, John Malone up on Mulberry." So we went in and put a new porch roof on his house at that time. So at that time, my wife had heard about Rebuilding Together Quad Cities. So I contacted them, and they came down, the director of it came down and sat and talked with us, told me how to go about putting all the steps together. It's a four-step, very intricate process. At that time, my boss at Monsanto put me in for a Leadership Muscatine class. I said, "Okay, I'll go to that." And so through Leadership Muscatine group, you have to pick a community project. My community project was Rebuilding Together Muscatine County. Rebuilding Together is what we do. Muscatine County is our demographic area that we do it in.
Deb, how long have you been volunteering?
Since day one.
Since he started this in 2007.
Right.
So before that I was raising kids and taking care of. So then when he started this, the kids were grown up and it was time to do something different.
So what's your role with Rebuilding Together?
I am the volunteer coordinator. I don't know if I should be looking at you or looking at the camera.
You can do either one.
Okay.
So what does that entail?
Well, up until recently, it's just meant getting the volunteers together for the National Rebuilding Together Day. And then recently, I'm taking a course with I can't remember what it's called, volunteer management. And so I'm learning a whole lot more about getting volunteers for board members and for different kinds of things than I had thought.
So one of the things we want to make sure everyone knows, these two are volunteers. So together, how many hours do you guys put in?
Now. They're paying me a little bit now, but mostly still volunteers.
How many hours a year did the two of you guys put in for volunteering with Rebuilding Together?
The last year I kept track of it was 850 in a calendar year. But it's 850 to 1,000. You know, I quit counting after 850.
How about you, Debbie?
I have no idea.
And how many volunteers show up for your guys' big day of volunteering with the Rebuilding Together?
We've had as many as 185 and as few as 35. It depends on the day and how many people we need.
So, Debbie, tell me, why do you volunteer for this organization? What's your passion behind that?
Well, it started out just because whatever falls off of his plate falls onto mine. But
Great partnership.
yeah, but it's grown into something more than that. It's just there's a demographic of people that are so needy they can't get help.
Yeah.
And they can't get a loan from a bank. They can't do anything. And so those are the people that we help. And it gets really emotional when you're helping people that can't help themselves. And then I know one specific guy, he couldn't get a loan to do any work on his house because his house was so bad. So we went and helped him one year and did windows and siding, I think, or windows and a roof, something like that.
Umbrella, we put a furnace in. Oh, go ahead.
And then after we went and did our work at no charge to him, and he was able to go to the bank and get us low interest loan for the rest of the work that he had done this
Oh,
time.
that's awesome.
So it was amazing. But he was one of those guys who was so needy that he couldn't get help.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. So
Perfect. And then Frank, what passion do you have for volunteering with rebuilding together?
Well, it's like Deb just was mentioning. This man up on the hill here. We put a furnace in. He had 3 children. His furnace had quit. He couldn't afford a new furnace, but he's got 3 little kids. We replaced the furnace. Working with Dan Moody, we put a countertop in his kitchen. We put a vanity in his bathroom. We put 4 doors on the house that had been damaged. We did a plaster job in one of the bedrooms. And so because of that, then he was able to go get, like she said, a loan with loan. And he put siding and a roof on his house with the help of still neighborhood people. But if you drive around this neighborhood, this community, there are so many people in so much dire need. We've seen, when we started it, we had some 50% of the median income. We had some 50% people, and then a few 30s. And over the past few years, it's like the level of income in this community has gone down to where they can't afford to do more of the things that we do for them for no charge. We help people that simply do not have any place else to turn to. We put in a lot of ramps. We widen bathroom doors. We cut away bathtubs so they step in, step out. We do whatever it takes to keep people safe, keep them warm, and keep them in their home. We work with Window World out of Davenport to replace windows. Like I said, we worked with Moody's, Kelly Plumbing and Heating to move washers and dryers from the basement up to the corner in a bedroom to make a laundry unit there so they didn't have to go up and down the stairs. We do what it takes to keep people safe. We've taken out old clawfoot tubs and put in a nice walk-in shower for a handicapped man that could not get in the tub. His wife had been bathing him at the kitchen sink, at the kitchen table for about 6 years, carrying water to and from and bathing him because he simply couldn't get in the tub. We took that old tub out, and now he's got a tub he can walk in and sit down and shower. We give people their freedom of movement back. We give them their pride of just being able to care for themselves. We've helped people that simply had no one to turn to, which is who we reach out for, but we put in ramps for people that they just needed to get out of the house. Down on Bleecker Street here, a lady had a car wreck. They could not get her in and out of the house. There was too many steps. So we pulled a ramp in, and she can go out and down by herself. And it's what we do. We give people back their freedom of movement, or their a better life. We improve their lives. Like the man there we were speaking of with the furnace. We improved that man's life so much that we gave value to the home. I tell people, if you give me $100, I'll give you $400 worth of value back into your house, because it's of the volunteer organization. We use all volunteer labor, and that puts the value back in the whole community. It's not just that home we work on. We've been working on one home, and the neighbors would come out and start raking in their yards and cleaning up and cutting the brush back and everything else, because it improves the entire community. And we pull the community together to help on a certain house. It's like the old barn raising of days a long time ago. If you needed a barn raised or built, you would just get all the neighbors around. Well, here come all the guys and their mules and their equipment and everything else, and they build a barn. And as the whole community turns out to do it because that neighbor needed that help. And that's what we do now. It's neighbors helping neighbors. It's reaching out to those in need.
So why are you so passionate about this? I mean, do you have a self-story where, something happened in your life that you were like, I am made for this, I'm cut out for this, Frank, you have the talents that you can do this, and you can, you find people to help do the jobs, do them correctly and safely.
Right.
But do you have a story that's like, why?
Well, you won't laugh, right?
No. It's a safe space.
Okay. With the camera running. I come from a family of 9 kids, and mom and dad and grandma in the wintertime. And we moved from northern Indiana to southern Missouri. And one of my first jobs was, I have a sister and a brother younger than me. My sister's 4 years younger than me. And my first job when we moved to Missouri was to find her a place to play outside, out of Mom's kitchen. Like I said, Mom had 9 kids. She's in there canning and cooking and doing all this stuff. And she wanted that kid out of the house. I mean, just this little 4-year-old girl, my job was to go find her some place to play. So I built playhouses everywhere we moved to. We moved about every 6 or 8 months. I don't know why, but my dad would move us, and every place we would move to, one of my first jobs after the truck was finished being unloaded was to go find her a place to play. I converted the hog houses into playhouses, chicken houses into playhouses. I built playhouses in the corners of barns. I had to build my sister a playhouse, and it had to be safe. It had to be, boy, if she'd have cut her head on a nail or something like that, that'd been bad news. But every place we moved, I built my sister Almeda a playhouse. Well, I grew up then, and I just like to take a plan and bring it together. I love to build. I love the smell of sawdust. And I love to build. I like to take something that's totally blank, a whiteboard, draw a picture on it and build it to it. I just like to build. I like to take something and nothing and make something from it. But we moved all the time, and I love to build. So I don't have any formal, I don't have a degree in building. It's just I've done it for, 58 years or so.
Well, that's
Built
a great
stuff.
story.
Yeah.
Debbie, how can you encourage others to volunteer today? You talk a little bit about the National Day and how they can come and volunteer with you guys.
Well, I think that sometimes when people are afraid to volunteer because they don't know what they're getting into, or, So I would encourage them to just give it a try. With Rebuilding Together in Muscatine County, it's just one day. Give it a shot, and we will try and place you someplace where you're doing something you're comfortable doing. If you're not comfortable wielding a hammer, maybe you can wield a rake. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we can find a place for you, and I would just encourage you, because at the end of the day, when you're looking at the homeowner, and the homeowner is standing there just crying because nobody's ever done anything nice for me, ever. No one's ever done anything like this. There's just a sense of pride and love in your heart that, wow, I helped do that. And every time you do it, it seems to grow. It gets a little bit. Because like I said, when I started with this, it was just because he was doing it. And now it's a different reason. It's a different reason because our kids today, they don't want a job, they want to make a change, they want to make a difference, they want to do something for somebody. And this is a really good way to do it.
So how can folks get in contact with you to volunteer with Rebuilding Together?
Well, we have a brand new website. It's beautiful. Thank you, Big Imprint. They did a great job on it. We have all the information you need on there. There's a waiver that you can sign in. You sign in on that waiver. It tells what kind of jobs we have available, and so you just check off the ones that you're good at, so we place you in the right spot. So on our website, rebuildingtogether.org, we also have a Facebook page, Rebuilding Together Muscatine County. You can go to either one of those places and message us or fill out the waiver, or get the phone number off there and give us a call.
Rebuilding Together is also on volunteermuscatine.org, and that's how you can get in contact with them. What is your guys' big day coming up for volunteerism?
April 27th. It's always the last Saturday of April. Rebuilding Together got started in Midland, Texas in 1986. There were some people in the church that was talking about their neighbors that needed some help. And so these 4 guys says, well, let's just help them. So they went and started helping these people, and they said, well, this was a lot of fun. The following year, they did the same thing again, only they had more people come along and help. And this one lady says, wow, this is just like Christmas in April. So it became Christmas in April for a few years, and then it went to Washington, D.C. and became Rebuilding Together nationwide and nationwide, because it's more inclusive and it's just really affected a lot more people. And but it's always the last Saturday of April. It just stayed with that, and we kept that tradition. Last Saturday of April. This year is April 27th. Some of the groups, like in Kansas City, they've got bad weather around that time, and they have theirs in September, depending on the Indian summer season. But we still have it up until we get rained out too many times. We still have it's always last Saturday of April with us, and we gear up to it. This year we're doing 10 projects, 5 ramps actually. One house with windows, another plaster job, a sewer line we're not sure about yet. We got to talk about that. But we're doing, it'll be 10 projects this time, that's what we're doing. And then we always have the yard work done. We always clean up the yard. So there's manual labor, raking and shoveling and cutting back brush and hauling trash away, and all that type of stuff takes place also all at the same time. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Do you guys have anything else you'd like to add?
Just thank you for this opportunity. I've always said, if you give me 3 people, I'm going to tell you about Rebuilding Together. My daughter says Dad's got 100 projects and he's got 100 stories, and I can tell you about the things that we've done. That there was no one that would reach out to these people, and we reached out and helped them, and then they ran into them a few months later, and they told us that their health had improved because of what we had done. And there's contacts that have been made with volunteers. As an example, up here, one project, these 2 ladies were working, painting the side of a garage. They found out that they each one had 3 kids. All their kids went to the same school. They're about the same age. They got exchanging names and phone numbers, and to my knowledge, they're still friends. Before the end of the day, and they said, "Gosh, Frank, this is so much fun. When are you going to do this again?" Well, it's not like something we can do every weekend because obvious reasons, but we do it, and the people that volunteer get as much back as the homeowner. The homeowner gets monetary value and their home improved, yes, but the volunteer has given of themselves. I tell people, if you give me 9 hours, I'll give you a lunch and a t-shirt and a day you won't soon forget. And I ran into volunteers in the months between our projects, and they thank me again for the opportunity for them to come and help somebody, to meet somebody that they didn't know. They had no idea who they were. But they met these people, and they're just, the friendships that are made and the relationships that are formed on that day, you cannot put a price on. And this is Muscatine. And Muscatine I'm serious, has got the best people that of any city or town that I've ever lived in. These people will reach out to help, and they'll reach again and again and again. They just give and give and give. And it's just a great place to be. It really is. Yeah. Well,
thank you so much for sharing your guys' story today. Today we have Frank and Deb Iliff with Rebuilding Together, talking about their volunteer opportunities and their volunteer stories. So if you're interested, please give them a call, and we are excited that you guys came. And thank you so much for sharing your stories.
Thanks for having us.
You're sure welcome.